All right, guys, I'm going to try to be really quick with this. Okay, so, um, 2 weeks ago, I talked about this 494 area being the bottom, right, in in the market due to the confluence of technicals with Tesla, Bitcoin, SPY, all QQQ, all those, right? And then that was also the 50% fibs retracement from this pivot high to this pivot low, which would indicate a wave 3 into 4, right? So far, we've gotten exactly that. Then at the beginning of this week, I talked about it, inverse head and shoulders that was building out. That ended up playing out, and we got the inverse head and shoulders up here, right? And then I talked about us topping around 510, 511 due to this 325 purple moving average, right? That was probably an SR flip, a support resistance flip. Since it had been support and we found resistance here, that we would find resistance here again. And as you can see, it literally did that, right? So we went up, hit it, rejected it, and then we had the big sell-off today, okay? Now, something I want to keep you guys mindful of is we are at such a delicate point where if there was going to be a rejection for this ABC correction, it's right here in this red rectangle, in this red overhead supply, right? Which we have to be very careful of here, right? Because if we get, like I keep warning about a sell-off into May, if we get this kind of sell-off, that's going to decimate stocks another 30%, 40%, right? But it could be even worse than that if a bunch of these key levels are given up. Now, even though we do have to be very careful with this ABC correction, this red path, I don't think that's the path that's going to play out. I'll show you why. Now, even without me thinking that, I'm still trying to be cautious, which is why I'm trying to stay around 20% cash in the Patreon account and about the same in my main accounts, right? But let's go ahead and break this down. So the bullish thesis here is this being a 5 wave structure, and this is what I would really like. I would really like to see 1, 2, 3, 4, find demand here into a wave 5, going into maybe Friday after the FOMC, because tomorrow, Wednesday, the FOMC, the Federal Reserve speaks, and they can really make or break the market based on what they say. But given that the DEA today also pushed the reclassification of marijuana, I kind of feel like the Democratic Party, the Biden administration, is really pushing the national political agenda so that they can kind of look good for the election. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's already also talked to the Federal Reserve to make sure, hey, man, don't be fucking anything up, right? That's a little bit of a conspiracy-ish theory, but I wouldn't put it past them. So what I'm thinking is I would really like to see Jerome Powell speak tomorrow and maybe talk about like slowing down the QT, right, the quantitative tightening, which would then help the market bullishly. But if he speaks bearishly and he spikes the dollar in the US 10-year, that could be bearish for both equities like stocks and then crypto. But this is what I'm looking for. The main level that we need to see is we cannot let us get under this 497, especially this 493, 494 area. Maybe we can double bottom here, and we can still have a little bit of hopium. But if we start giving up this level, it is very probable that this is an ABC correction, and this is of the B wave, and we are going down to like 465. And if we were to drop there from here, that's like a 7% drop, which could drop stock. But like I said, that's why we need cash right now. But even with that bearishness, I still feel like we might get this one. And what I would really like to see, if I'm really locked into this market, I've been talking about a sell-off in May for weeks now, for like 2 months. I would really like to see us rally into Friday and then literally do an ABC correction, right? Down into this rounded bottom that I mentioned, right? And then rally again for the wave 5 of the larger degree right here, this wave 5. And that would be wave 3. So if it works the way I'm trying to plan, this would be like a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. But realistically, I would like this rally to last about like mid-July, right? And then we have this super rally that I've been talking about where we make a hell of a lot of money, right? So this is what I'm looking for. But if we give up this 494, this ABC wave could be playing out, in which it would be this where we bottom here and then we rally higher, right? So that's something we need to keep in mind going into tomorrow. Now, that's SPY. The reason I'm also saying that all of this stuff, I kind of have a bullish bias, is everything's out of line in the sand again, right? Let me show you. So I've been talking about an ABCDE correction for wave 4 for Bitcoin, and most times it stays above the 38% fib, which is what we've been maintaining right now. Or it could be like an A, B, C wave like this, in which we drop down to this 50% fib area. And I said that last week. But last week, this 100-day moving average was also down there, which was giving me a little bit more of a thought process that that might be what's happening. Now, the reason I talked about the 100-day moving average is because this is the clear trend indicator for this entire move up, right, since September. So if we give up this blue line, I think the trend is changing, and that's something we need to be concerned about, right? But this is what I'm really hoping for right now. I'm hoping for a curl. So I mentioned about buying stuff tomorrow, maybe buying stuff tomorrow, but it's very possible like crypto could bottom tonight, or maybe at 8 o'clock it closes here, and then we start making higher highs or higher lows. But it's very possible that crypto bottoms right now, like as we speak, and I wouldn't put it past it, right? Especially after all this sell-off. Everything's down 8-9%. Last night, Hong Kong, China started. The Bitcoin ETFs were approved and started being active last night. And what I think they might be doing here is some manipulation where they were trying to scare you thinking it's like last time, right? When America approved their Bitcoin ETFs, everything plummeted like 30-40%. I mean, it could be that they do that twice, but I think they're actually doing this as a little bit of a scam to shake and bake before the actual rally. But once again, we always need to have risk management, even though I'm a little bit bullish. But yeah, so Bitcoin's at its line in the sand too, in my opinion, especially if we get under this like 56K area. If we start giving this up, then I'm going to be very bearish, especially if SPY gives up its level, Tesla gives up its level, Apple gives up its level. Same thing with Tesla, right? I called the top yesterday with the running into the descending resistance and rejecting the supply, right? And then what we did was gap down. But this is also the thing. This sell-off could be, and this is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a breakout back test, right, of this descending resistance, now turn support. But look how close we are to, once again, this ascending support. This is a coil, man. This is a wedge getting super tight, and it's going to go one way, really strong. And I'm hoping it's the top side so we can get paid. But the reason I'm a little bit bullish tomorrow is because we can't have another down day. If we have another down day, Tesla will break this, right? If we have another down day in Bitcoin, Bitcoin breaks this, right? If SPY was to really sell off, another ugly one, it could break this one, or we could even break this level. So we're getting really tight here. So also, another reason I have a little bit of a bullish bias. Either way I count Tesla, I think we're in some type of wave 4. It's just which count it is. But regardless, both wave 4s is at the 50% fib, right? So we're either at this 50% fib or this 50% fib. Now, given we're kind of dropped down here in after hours, but my thought process is what I would like to see is us gap down tomorrow, in which I might buy a Tesla contract if we gap down, because what I would like to see is a gap down and then recovery, right? So gap down means open lower than the current price, right? So today's closing price was at 183.30. What I would like to see is like open up around like 181, 180, maybe drop down like 179, and then rally upward. If that happened, then that would curl the ADL line up, right? And then we would have a response out of the 50% fib, in which I think we would go rally for $200, right? And that's what I'm looking for. Another reason why I think we rally, if it's not a rally, it's a line in the sand where everything could get really ugly. We have Apple, right? Apple's ascending support, right? This ascending support is since June 2021, right? 3 years nearly. We're right there. So Apple can't have another down day. So Apple has to rally tomorrow, right? Tesla plus Apple, right? Now, so it kind of broke, but it hasn't made a lower low. So this could just be kind of like expanded like that. But this could be a line in the sand right here, which I'm going to set in but yeah, And then I mentioned, like, if Bitcoin and crypto bottom tonight, usually between like the 50 to 78% fib is where you would buy, but I'm a little uneasy and I wanted to keep cash. But if we actually get down to this daily demand around 15, which is what I mentioned, the first week we had the breakout, like look how much it's already dropped, right? It's down 19%. But this daily demand, because this is very clear and concise, because if we buy in at 15 and it gives up 14, then the bearish case is going to play out, right? So I might take a little nibble here if that's the case. But all of these charts, they can't last a 7% drop and be bullish. So everything's going to get bearish if SPY was to drop 7%, unless we rally going into Friday and all of these stocks rally 20, 30%, and then there's a correction, which is what I'm kind of banking on. Some other reasons why I'm kind of bullish is there's still pretty decent market breadth. NEO closed near the high of the days. XBET closed near the high of the days. Look at China, or not China, but weed. 46%, 25%, 40%, 78%, 13%, 50%, 42, 42, 22, 39, 24. There's a lot. There's still money in the market. And if they were setting for a crash, I wouldn't think that they would be doing this right now. So I have a little bit of a bullish bias. What I would prefer to see is a little bit of a gap down and then a slow grind up going into the FOMC and then a rally after the FOMC. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm banking on. Um, you know, I added my Bitcoin position right here, to be honest. This is actually a marginable account with only like $500 in it. But as you can see, I have like $12,000 because I have 200x margin. But I'm going to risk it and see what happens. Currently at 64 bucks. But I think it's very possible that this is the bottom, right? And if it's the bottom and we get a good rally this week, then I'm going to be locked in this market, guys. You have no idea. If we get one of these, and I literally call this entire move, right? Where we get a 5-wave structure, then we get an ABC correction going into like, the 8th of May to like the 14th of May, something like that, and then start buying all those dips. And then literally we just skyrocket until July. That's what I'm looking for. Anyways, that's a quick review. All right, cheers.